Hi everyone, welcome to this new video. In today's video, we're gonna keep working with model signature, specifically about signature enforcement. But first, let me just import MLflow and set the tracking URI. Now let's talk about signature enforcement. In previous videos, we saw how to create a model signature in which we were specifying data or specifying the input and outputs of the model, right? In today's video, we're going to explore how we can use this signature to do or to perform data validation. Now, it's important to highlight that these validations are available only when we're working with MLflow deployment tools, which means that these apply only when the model is loaded using MLflow, let's say, flavor and not the native object. For example, I'm going to go right now to the UI just to copy a model URI here. I logged this model before, and as you can see here, there is a schema here, which means that this model is a candidate for signature enforcement. So I'm going to copy the model URI here. And let me go back to the notebook and copy and paste that here. So I have the model URI equals to this URI. Now I'm going to load the model in two formats. The first is using the scikit-learn flavor. Now, when I load the model using this flavor, I'm going to retrieve a scikit-learn object. That's why here I am printing the type of this object just to show you that this is going to be a scikit-learn object. So as you can see here, this is the random forest classifier that we trained in a previous video. And this is basically a scikit-learn object, which means that we are not going to be able to validate data using this object, right? Because this is a scikit-learn object, not MLflow. On the other hand, here I am loading the model using the Python flavor. Remember that I said that the scikit-learn flavor, the scikit-learn model or package support two flavors, scikit-learn and Python. And here I'm using Python. Now this function retrieves a Python model, right? So let me print this, let me run this. And as you can see here, we have this Python model. Now this is a MLflow object, which means that we can have this signature enforcement available here. Now I'm going to load some data for testing. Remember that for this model we used the iris dataset. Now let's take a look at data type validation. In this case, I'm going to modify one of the columns, right, to convert the float into integer. That's what I'm doing here. So now, here we can see that three columns or three features are float, but the other, this one, sepal length, is integer, right? And now let's try to do a prediction using the scikit-learn model. Remember that this is a scikit-learn object. So here everything seems to be working fine, right? But now let's try to do the same using the Python model. And remember that this is a MLflow object. So here I capture the section. It says the error, incompatible input type for column sepal length. Cannot safely convert the integer into float. So this is the validation that we are having thanks to MLflow and the fact that we provided a signature when we log the model. Now let's check out schema validation. In this case, what I'm going to do is to modify the name of one of the columns. In this case, I'm going to create this column called sepal length invalid. So let's run this and show you. Now we have three columns that are valid, and now we have this column that of course is invalid. Let's try to run or to make the predictions using the scikit-learn model. Now in this case, we're getting a exception, but it's important to notice that this is a scikit-learn validation because when we train the model, we provided the feature names, right, in the data frame. So scikit-learn is able to store that metadata about the model and make this validation that we have here. I'm going to show you the exception just to make clear that this is coming from scikit-learn and not MLflow. So here, as you can see here, we have scikit-learn. We have this validation, right? Check feature names that it's coming from the scikit-learn package. This is not MLflow. Now I'm going to try to predict using the invalid dataset, but with the Python model, which is an MLflow object. I get another exception, and in this case it says error, model is missing inputs. This is the input that is missing. Note that there were extra inputs, and now it's considering this column sepal length invalid as an extra input, right? So these are like kind of validations that MLflow performed for when you provide a model signature in your when you log in the model. So that's why it's very important to provide a signature so we can tap into these validations when making the predictions or during inference times. Now, there are some times in which we need maybe to provide additional or optional columns, right, in the model or in the model signature. In the next video, we're going to work with this topic in which we are going to provide optional columns in the model signature. Well, that was everything for this video. Thanks for watching it and see you next time.